Hey everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video. We are back with everyone's favorite, the TikTok Roundup. We are going to change it up slightly this month. No, Kevin is not coming back, don't worry. I know there was like an overwhelming amount of support for having him in the video, but I also realized it was a very different style. It ended up being very just like sit down podcast style, and I know a lot of you didn't like that too. So we're going back. It's going to be quick, snippy like always, but I thought it would be fun today to just kind of like change up the format a hair. So instead of going from like the least spicy to the spicy, we're just gonna look at these like as they are in the folder that I have them, and we're gonna almost like rank them as we go, kind of like tier list-esque style, if that makes sense. I don't know, I just feel like I've been making the same video every month for like an entire year now, and I feel like I want to change it up a little bit. So you let me know what you think at the end of the video. We have 4 ranks that these videos can fit into, starting at the top. Truth bomb. Then we have meh, but fine. Next is gross, and next is utter nonsense. So kind of jumps down into bullshit really quickly. Anyway, let's start a look at the first video. So this says, POV, you're using the Kelly Matthews glute program and she has you doing rotating Bulgarian split squats that have your booty on fire, and you're wondering why you haven't been doing these workouts your entire life. This is an ad for Ladder, and even though I do not like that company based off of a lot of their marketing, this marketing is absolutely fine to me. There's nothing predatory, there's nothing skeezy about it, and a rotating Bulgarian split squat is actually a fantastic progression in your training. So let's talk about it. Rotating into the working leg is going to facilitate a deeper stretch or just more stretch on your glutes. More stretch equals more growth. Now, I would say that this is an advanced progression. Like, I already think the Bulgarians are pretty advanced for a lot of people. So if you're wanting to work your way up to these, here's what I would do. I would start with good old-fashioned split squats on the floor. Then I would go into a rear foot elevated split squat. So this is typically like a lower step and your toes are tucked under. So you're not solely using that back leg for just balance quite yet. Then I would progress up to Bulgarian. So that's where you have the back foot on typically something a little bit higher than like a small step, and the toes are untucked. So now you're doing even more work with just the front leg. And then I would progress into this rotational option. There's also lots of progressions you could kind of take with like loading. Like you can work goblet, you can work suitcase, you can work racked, offset. And I would even argue that you see another progression that she's using here because her front foot is elevated to create a little bit more of a deficit, so you have more range of motion. This also could be elevated because the bench might be too tall. Like I have that problem at 5 feet tall. Sometimes the bench is too high up and then I start like arching from my low back. But anyway, there's not really one right way to program these or like to progress into these. I just like to share a little bit about like mindset, like how would you get up to something that is definitely more of an advanced movement. So for our rank, we are going to rank this truth bomb right at the top. Congratulations, Ladder.
Maturing is realizing a good gym sesh will be at least 2 hours long. Imagine saying this to someone who works 60+ hours a week, has a long commute to and from work, raises multiple children, and doesn't live anywhere close to the gym. Please let 2025 be the year that people quit making up arbitrary standards for exercise that do nothing but create even more barriers than there already are. Wishful thinking, I know. We're gonna fix this. Maturing is realizing 1. The vast majority of people do not ever need to do workouts that are 2 hours long. 2. Spreading messages like this only further discourages people who already struggle to exercise consistently. And 3. The 30-minute or even 15-minute sessions that you can do multiple days a week will always beat the 2-hour workout that never happens.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with this. I don't know what you're doing in the gym that's taking you 2 hours if you're not like competing or an athlete, but I guarantee if you were just like a normal person and you're training for 2 hours every time you go to the gym, I guarantee you can pare that down a lot. I mean, if you like working out for 2 hours, more power to you. But if you find that like it's a really, really big chunk of time, we can pare that down a lot. Personally, most of my workouts take anywhere from like 35 to 50 minutes. That's kind of the sweet spot for me. And as long as you have solid programming, that's really all you need. Now, a lot of people will then be like, well, how do I know if my programming is solid? Well, where are you getting your programming from? Are you working with a coach? There are plenty of reputable coaches online like Sohi who do offer training. But also if that's not in your budget, I fully understand that. So I have free options online as well as many other reputable coaches. If you ever want some recommendations on where to find some of those things, drop it in the comments. I'm happy to link it. Again, not just my stuff, other people's too. I realize I'm not a great fit for everybody. But when it comes down to it, you kind of just want to make sure like your coach that you're getting programming from, whether it's free or paid, is certified in something. The bare minimum you would want to look for is CPT. Most of the times you're going to see that with like NASM CPT, ACE CPT, NSCA, CPT. Those I would say are like the bare minimum. Those are going to be entry-level personal training certifications. But the reason that I would always recommend looking for at least that is because A, this person has at least like gone through some type of educational course. B, and more importantly, in my opinion, to hold on to those titles, you actually do need to do continuing education to like keep up that title. Does that make sense? So I think with all three of those, if you're like, oh, well, what if this person just took this one course like 20 years ago and now they're just keeping the title on their website or on their social media? I'm pretty sure that all three of those organizations have a database and you can like type their name in and see if they're certified. You can also literally ask the person if you want. And I guess that's my recommendation. So we are going to rank this truth bomb. We're starting off strong, everybody. Famous last words.
Design weights that also function as decor. So no more hiding your weights and no more clutter. I will say that my 15-pound design is the least versatile of our collection. Is our 20-pound a little more versatile? Yeah. This one actually works really well as both a kettlebell and as a dumbbell. Kettlebell if you want the instability, or you can hold the butt and use it as a dumbbell. Yeah. What's nice about our weights is that you can still leave them out and actually use them when you're not using them. That one is our like dumbbell. Yeah, I like her. I also really like our 8-pound. I honestly probably use this one the most just because it functions as a kettlebell and as a dumbbell. I would hold it like this and pump it out. Obviously, you're probably not maxing out with these bad boys, but they're great for low impact bar Pilates workouts. These are cast iron pieces with a powder coat finish. The sand is a matte finish. Powder coat is used on a lot of ag equipment, so it is very durable, but it's not invincible. You can knock them together, but I would not just like throw them over and over again on a hard surface. While this is a pretty color, I don't like a lot of bright colors in my space, and I also really don't like to leave like silicone items out. I will be posting workouts and home decor tips and stuff. So yeah, if you love all things health and home, feel free to follow along.
All right. I mean, first glance, these are very pretty artistic pieces. I feel like if you live in a small space, you don't have any storage for weights, and you want your space to look like really aesthetic, I think this could potentially be a great option for you. I would also maybe argue, like, if you don't have any space for equipment, like maybe you can go to a gym if you have one in your neighborhood. But I also realized, like, in some parts of the country, gyms are very far and spread out, and like you don't have great options. So anyway, just spitballing other options here. Here's the main thing that I do want to touch on. I know that she compares one or two of the items to being replacements for kettlebells. Now with a kettlebell, the majority of the weight is at the bottom of the tool, whereas with a dumbbell, the weight is evenly distributed on both sides. Now, because of the weight distribution, kettlebells are going to be great for specific skill work like swings, like snatches, like cleans. But personally, I also find that they're a great option for a lot of different strength exercises. I believe I made an Instagram video about that, so I'll pop that up on here. But sometimes a kettlebell is just easier to hold and manage than a dumbbell, and vice versa. So depending on the workout, the exercises, and the specific skills that you want to learn and get better at, I wouldn't necessarily say that any of these designs are a great alternative to kettlebells in the sense of specific strength work and in the sense of specific skill work. You're not going to get that nice float at the top of your skill work. It's not going to be designed to sit nicely on your arm. And it looks like with some of the grip options, it's just going to be like uncomfortable. So I would just firmly say, like, these are not a good replacement for kettlebells, period. And that's okay. Now, the other thing that I do just want to point out, because this is a pet peeve of mine, and I find that people use this term wrong all of the time, is that she said that these are great for low impact workouts like bar and Pilates. Do you know what else is low impact? Strength training. I think that people get impact and intensity confused or mixed up or like put together, because strength training is a high intensity, low impact exercise. Whereas something like Pilates, I would argue, is more low intensity, low impact. They're both low impact. One just has a higher intensity, but also you can scale your intensity with any workout. I could easily go in and do more of like a moderate intensity or a lower intensity strength day. On the flip side, I could go go take I don't know, I'm going back to like my days where I did ClassPass and I used to go to Core Power and like want to die in their like hot yoga extreme. It was really, those classes were so intense. So I would argue that was a low impact but high intensity workout, right? So anyway, I just think it's a common misconception. I wanted to throw it out there just so like you understand not only the difference, but also that like one isn't better than the other. Like high impact and high intensity are fine as long as you're not overdoing it. Same thing with low impact and low intensity. Like you want to be scaling your intensities. Anyway, we're going to rank this. I'm scrolling down because I forgot my ranks. We're gonna rank this meh, but fine.
A. Look what AI did to me. Your personal AI coach uses your smartphone's camera to scan your body composition. It's insane. Body scan shows your body fat percentage, body mass index, lean mass index, and other parameters. Based on the results, the app creates personalized workout just for you. And because it's powered by AI, it gets smarter the more you use it. Download the Zing Coach app today and let's crush those goals together. Do your body scan today. Download the Zing Coach app.
If your advertisement looks like softcore porn, red flag. Let's just go through this again. Why am I looking down your shirt? Why am I looking up your anus? Look, the over-sexualization of women in the gym to sell a product is disgusting. Like I don't understand why and plenty of people do this, not just this AI generated body scanner from your phone that 100% doesn't work. Like why are we promoting our products by showing women squatting not only from behind but like down and behind? Never in my life as a trainer have I been working on squats with people and be like, hold on. All right, go. What? Why? Oh, I'm still in pajamas. Damn it, I was trying to hide that. It's the first day back of work after my holiday break. Leave me alone. Anyway, I think we get the point. What's my lowest rank? Utter nonsense. Okay, so this is actually a Facebook ad. Yes, I still have Facebook, and the only reason I don't think I've posted anything on there in years. The only reason I go on it is because they have the little memories thing, and I like to see what nonsense I was getting up to in like 2009. I don't know. Actually, should we look? You would think I have ADHD, but I don't. All right. We're screen recording, so this is real. 8 years ago, when you look at, okay, hold on a second. Oh, this sounds mildly racist. Hold on. Okay. I used to be a tour guide, like like a licensed New York City walking tour guide in New York. I'm so anxious right now to read this. And you get people from other countries. And sometimes, especially when you're working during the holidays, like I used to work on Thanksgiving, on Christmas, like all around the holidays because we didn't have a lot of money. You just hope that people speak English because it's really hard to do like a walking tour of Greenwich Village where there's not much to look at and it's a lot of stories and no one speaks English on your tour. So anyway, did I need to post this? No. Do I know better now? Yes. When you look at the names on your list for a tour and all you can think is, please God, let them speak English. You guys, one day when I hit 100,000 followers, we're going to make a video of how I got to this point in my life. Just like I want to talk about all the jobs I've had because it's actually like crazy. I have some wild tour guiding stories for you. Oh, wow, look at her. This was college. This was a production of Midsummer, and we were the fairies. Oh, my parents' old house. That's the tree. Oh, there's some nice dark hair. Yeah, she's lived 15 years ago. I don't even know what this was. Oh, there's my sister and her friend Kate. That's mildly inappropriate. Great. That was fun. Anyway, let's talk about P-Volve. So this was an ad that I saw. We'll read it in just a second, but P-Volve is a method. I actually did try them in my Vlogmas from this past year. They're a method that has changed their messaging a lot because I distinctly remember going to a class of theirs like 5 or 6 years ago, like pre-COVID, and the terminology was very like all about moving your joints through small ranges of motion with light weights, because if you use heavy weights and move through your joints full range of motion, you will get injured, which is utter nonsense, but they don't use that terminology anymore, at least from what I've seen. Again, I have not taken like a live class or one of their like main style of classes in a long time, so maybe they talk more about that in it, but I couldn't find any of that terminology on their website. But no, that is in the lore, in the history. So now the terminology on their website is much more open and it's much more like aligned with this ad. So let's read the ad really quickly. Support your GLP-1 by building strength and lean muscle with P-Volve. Get started with the best-selling total transformation nutrition bundle, 13 pieces of body toning equipment, 1 year of streaming workouts included, toned arms that your friends will be talking about, and clinically proven to reduce lower back pain. Then it has this little image, support your GLP-1 PVolve, builds lean muscle, supports long-term weight goals, improves your metabolism. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about, just kind of like more generic, like toning, metabolism, lean muscle. Like it's all just kind of like, none of it really means anything. If I had to guess, they were probably like, we're too specific with our terminology and this can be disproven by science, so let's just make it more broad. I don't know, I'm speculating. So the point I want to make here, and like you are seeing a lot of GLP-1 type medications being advertised to people. We're not going to talk about like GLP-1s. Also, GLP-1s are like Ozempic, things like weight loss drugs like that, or obviously they're diabetes drugs with a symptom of weight loss or a side effect of weight loss. I'm trying to be really careful because I don't want to seem like I'm being anti GLP-1s. If I'm being perfectly honest, it's none of my business. Like I have no reason to have anything to do with that. Like I'm not a doctor, but across the board, I do think it's odd that any medication is ever like advertised to us. Like, why am I seeing like TV commercials for like drugs? I don't know. It's weird to me. America! Okay. I just think it's weird to jump on the GLP-1 bandwagon when you're a workout. I don't know. To me, like it is in this iffy zone. Like personally, ethically, I wouldn't do it because I think that there is something almost predatory about it. And I know people are going to disagree with me. I don't know. I just think that this is more of a conversation for you and your medical team. But let's say I had a client who was on a GLP-1 medication. Here are the things, as long as you have clearance from your medical team to do them, here's what I would recommend to you. Strength training, actual strength training. PVolve is not strength training. It can complement it, but it does not replace it. And it comes down to the fact that you are simply not working heavy enough. Typically, you want to be working in strength training around 60% or more, depending on what your goals are and whatever, 60% of your 1 rep max. That is the point where we are actually going to stimulate the cellular changes associated with strength training. Increases in bone density, increases in muscle mass, hormonal regulation. It's just a completely different stimulus from more of these aerobic, low weight, high rep, whatever the heck PVolve is workouts. Other thing that I would suggest to you would be to look at your protein intake. Protein is going to help you maintain your muscle mass. And when you are losing weight, especially rapidly, you're going to be losing weight from everywhere, right? Not just fat mass. You're going to be losing bone density. You're going to be losing muscle mass. You're going to be losing water. Like there's a lot of places you're going to be losing mass from. So we want to prioritize losing fat mass over muscle mass, I think for obvious reasons. And a great way to do this is upping your protein. Typically the recommendation is 1.8 to 2.7 grams per kilogram of body weight. That might sound like a lot. You can always start smaller and work your way up toward that. But at the end of the day, the number one point I'm trying to make here is that because a GLP-1 is going to drastically subdue your appetite, which is the reason that it works, like it makes you eat less if you're taking it for weight loss reasons. So like if you're not paying attention to your nutrition, you're going to become malnourished. So you really do want to, take note of your protein intake, your fiber, and just like making sure that you're getting enough of the things that you need, making sure that you are meeting in with your medical team and getting blood work done to see if you're deficient in anything because you're eating less. So personally, I don't know. People are going to disagree. I'm going to say this is gross. We have another Facebook ad, and then you'll get to stop hearing me talking for a moment. This is Tracy Anderson. I actually have made 2 videos on her now. Let's read the ad. Tracy Anderson is reimagining strength training in line with your nature. What does that mean? I'm so sorry. Anyway, introducing the Growth Rings collection featuring 6 sets of bespoke power weights designed for muscle health, injury prevention, and total body longevity. Experience strength training like never before. Growth rings. You mean dumbbells? Adjustable dumbbells? Also, I'm sorry, what happened to your entire method of like, we don't train the big muscles because those get overworked. We only train the small stabilizing muscles, and that's what causes you to look lean. Like, What happened? This woman just goes from one trend to another until she can cycle back and then upcharge old products and revamp them and keep doing it over and over again. Did you know that she was recently selling crystals for like $400? Like a $400 crystal that you like hold to your chest in class. She is a grifter. This is utter nonsense.
I think we could stand to take a page out of Jennifer Lopez's book. It's hard to believe that she's 55 years old and moves this well, and we can certainly credit that to her strength training regimen, and she clearly works super hard and has been active her whole life. Just remember, she didn't start just doing this now, she's been doing this since her 20s. I also want to point out in these video clips that she's doing, the exercises are simple, basic foundational movement. They're not overly inventive or 3-in-1 complicated exercises that you see a lot of influencers do. It's just simple strength training. Cosmetics aside, I think that she's aging gracefully, and it just goes to show that we don't have to overcomplicate strength training, especially if we want to stay strong as we get older. Let's not forget, muscle atrophy starts to happen after the age of 30. So we should be doing everything and anything that we can to maintain and build more.
Yeah. I mean, let's ignore the fact that J-Lo is allegedly a horrible human being. Also the fact that she has endless monetary resources, right? The more money you have, the easier it is to invest in your health. But let's just focus on what Roxy's saying here. Simple strength training is the way to go if you want to age well. Simple strength training does not need to be boring. Simple strength training does not mean that you do the same 6 exercises for your entire life. It's about taking basic movement patterns, squatting, hinging, pulling, pushing, rotating, carrying, and varying the intensities and the variations over time in a strategic progressive way. The like 3-8-2, Pilates X Strength, Ghost Mode programs that you see out there are utter nonsense. It's marketing nonsense from people who, quite frankly, might know what they're talking about, but they don't care about the fact that they are spreading misinformation, they are preying on your insecurities, and they don't give a shit. They're grifters. They want to keep you in the dark about how your body works, because if they give you the answers, which is simple, it's not as sexy, and you can't monetize that as well. The other thing that I just want to touch on quickly that Roxy pointed out is that at the age of around 30, we do start to lose our bone density and muscle mass naturally. Meaning, if you didn't work out a day in your life and then you hit 30 and you continue to not work out a day in your life, you will just start to lose those things. So it is incredibly important, even if you are past 30, to be strength training, because you will at least be able to build some, but then more importantly, maintain the muscle mass and bone density that you already have. It is incredibly important to do this throughout our entire lives. This is why I'm such a big proponent of sustainable changes. This is why I'm such a big proponent of finding things you actually enjoy. Because yeah, when I tell people you should be doing this your entire lives, that sounds really daunting, especially if you're doing movement that you hate, that feels grueling. Finding something, and I'm always happy to help brainstorm with people, but finding something or someone or whatever that you can do sustainably is the key. We are going to rank this truth bomb. I should really move these rankings to the top of my document because I keep forgetting what they are.
Girls on Monday. We're starting the Calisthenics Challenge for beginners. In 1 week, you'll feel it. In 2 weeks, you'll see it. By Christmas, you'll be snatched and toned. You're in? If you can't do 50 push-ups, then you need to do this 28-day calisthenics workout challenge from Better Me. It's full of bodyweight exercises which will help you put on strength and lean muscle without leaving your house. The workouts only take 15 minutes a day and you don't need any equipment. So I can't recommend it enough. Tap the screen right now to try it.
Better Me gives me like AI vibes. Like, I don't know if a single person in that video was a real person. All right, so the main claim here is that by doing calisthenics, you will put on strength and lean muscle without any equipment. I've made plenty of videos on calisthenics training. I think there are a lot of great aspects, and I think there's a lot of crossover into strength work. For instance, like push-ups are calisthenics and pull-ups, but I would also argue because you have to move so much of your own body weight with smaller muscle groups, it does have a lot of crossover into strength work, and like you can actually build strength, build muscle there. But to say that someone in 28 days is going to have these wild results by just doing body weight workouts is manipulative. It's misinformation. I don't know. And from the looks of this ad, like everything is just kind of random and stupid. Like nothing in here I would say is like fits into the world of calisthenics. There's also another great instance of me looking at someone's internal organs through their butthole. And I also, okay, this is petty, but like I do just think it's funny they talk about like you don't need any equipment and you can do this from home. And not only is this woman, I mean, she doesn't lift the dumbbell, but like there's a dumbbell that she's using for all the exercises the entire time. Also, she's in a gym. Lazy, 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 lazy. But we're going to call it gross because I don't want to make it seem like I'm shitting on calisthenics. I'm just shitting on Better Me.
If you've never worked out before, there's this thing called recomping, where the fat that's burning can go towards building your muscle if you eat at maintenance. But for me, what works is eating really high protein and making sure that I'm like slowly progressing in weights while like eating low carb, which is also good for like my candida. But I find that when I overeat in carbs, like it goes straight to my stomach and it goes straight to gaining fat. And so I really think a lot of it is like macros and also knowing how much you're burning. And then rather than doing something like HIIT, I find with myself that burns my muscle and then I start to lose my booty. But if I do things like walking, like just steady state cardio, it kind of like burns the fat but still allows me to keep my muscle and continue to build it. So yeah, walking, high protein, eat your carbs before your workout.
Holy shit. We're not going to go into who these two women are because they are both pseudoscience scam artists. Yeah, I don't recommend taking either of their advice on anything or buying any of their products. But oh my God, we need to go piece by piece because I don't even really know what I just listened to. First and foremost, beginners should not be worried about body recomposition. Like beginners should just strength train and like prioritize like minimally processed balanced meals. Like that's beginner's body recomp. That's such an advanced goal. That's crazy talk. All right, so then we get that she's saying that recomp is the fat that's burning can go toward building your muscle if you eat at maintenance. Oh boy. Okay. So body recomposition, all that means is that you're changing the ratio of how your body mass is distributed. So for instance, the biggest body recomp goal is like, oh, I want to lose fat but gain muscle. So a lot of times with recomp goals, you're not going to see a huge shift on the scale. It's going to be more of like an aesthetic, or maybe you're using something like a DEXA scan or an InBody to kind of like track those changes. Now she also talks a little bit about like your macro split, and this is going to be a goal where you're going to want to pay more attention to your macro split as well as your overall calorie intake. Like to lose fat, you do need to be in a net calorie deficit, right? But for this muscle building goal, you also need to be eating a solid amount of protein. So it does come down to like kind of adjusting a lot of your macronutrients and the ratio of them. Why did I say it like that? Another tool that people typically use with a body recomp goal is carb cycling. So changing, high carb days, low carb days, and a lot of this is gonna depend on when your workouts are. There's a lot of different ways you can approach this goal. I did make a whole video about it, I think like 2 years ago, and I think it holds up pretty well. I remember people getting mad because I was like, this is an advanced goal, but this is an advanced goal. I would not recommend this for a beginner. To finish out the statement, the fat that's burning, so the fat loss from being in a slight deficit, can go toward building your muscle. No. What? The fat that you're burning will go toward, no, I don't even understand where she would think that. Like literally the mass that you're losing is going to build mass. Does she think that fat turns into muscle? No, honey. When you lose fat, you actually, you exhale it out. What's going to go toward building your muscle is calories, specifically the calories from the protein that you're ingesting, if you're strength training. And then she talks about eating at maintenance. If you have a true body recomp goal that involves any type of fat loss, you shouldn't be eating at maintenance. Maybe some days you are, but again, a net deficit, like zooming out, to lose fat, you need to be in a deficit. Okay, so the next claim that she makes, eating high protein while progressing in weights. 100% yes, we're back on track. And then she talks about eating low carb. So if you're consistently eating low carb, but you are, honestly, I would argue whether you're more of like a strength and power person or whether you're more of an endurance person, your workouts are going to suffer. If you are someone who does more aerobic endurance type exercises, you're going to need more carbs than someone who's doing more of like a power and strength focused workout. But again, we're talking very advanced here. Obviously, she has candida, which I'm not super familiar with. Like that would be something that I would go to like an RD or a GI to help talk about, best ways to match your nutrition and your strength goals with that. But again, I just think you'd be better off like carb cycling if you have a recomp goal rather than just eating low carb all the time. The reason that we're like getting so focused on carbs here is because carbs are going to be your body's main and preferred source of energy. I know there's going to be at least one person in the comments that's going to be like, well, you could use fat for energy. You could, but it takes fucking forever. It's a much longer like metabolic process. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because it really is fully dependent on like how much your carb intake is, what you're doing. We don't need to really get into the specifics, but this is why carbs are going to be important because they're going to be a lot quicker to use for energy, whether it's stored or whether, it's in your bloodstream. It's gonna be quicker than using fats. I find that when I overeat in carbs, it goes straight to my stomach and to gaining fat. If you overeat in anything, you will gain fat. Carbs are actually just as calorically dense as protein. Both of them are going to be 4 calories per gram. So let's say you have 100 grams of carbs and 100 grams of protein. They are both 400 calories. Fats are actually way more calorically dense. They're going to be 9 calories per gram. So that means if you had 100 grams of fat, it's going to be 900 calories. And then going straight to the stomach, this is a common place for people, especially women, or biological women, like anatomically, is where you're going to hold fat a lot of times. And carbs also retain a lot of water in your body. So how do you actually know it's even fat? Oh my God. Okay. There's so much more statements that we've made. HIIT burns my muscle and I start to lose my booty. HIIT will only burn muscle if you're underfueled and you're neglecting your strength work. HIIT is primarily going to be that like zone 4, zone 5 training. It's going to be like your 90%, 100% effort, like all out max. It's very much like an empty the tank type of training. And typically here it's going to be anywhere from like a 1 to 12 all the way up to 1 to 20 work to rest ratio. Meaning if you're doing 10 seconds you're going to want to take 120 seconds, this is math, to 200 seconds. Yes. So about like 2 to 3 minutes off. So 10 seconds of work, 2 to 3 minutes of rest. And you could probably do like almost anything to get you into that heart rate zone. But commonly you're going to see sprints, you're going to see rowing, you're going to see assault bike. If the interval is longer or you're not taking enough rest to recover, you're simply not working the same energy system that HIIT is trying to target. Does everybody need to be training this way? No. No. And should you be training this way multiple times a week? No. Should it replace your strength work? No. And is it going to burn your booty? No. Okay, finally. Steady state cardio burns the fat and keeps the muscle. I don't know how many more times I can explain this, so I'm just going to pop a video on the screen where you can watch it. But the fat burning zone is a myth. Does not exist. It's nonsense. And so is this. This is utter nonsense. It had Bejeweled. That's what this was playing. Okay, this is a ad for Sammy Clark's Form app. Honestly, the only reason I wanted to point this out because I really don't like the demonization of running. Here's what this little clip at the bottom says. Been doing Form consistently since August and it's the strongest I felt since high school. Also pretty much stopped running and I'm just doing this and walks. If you don't like running, I don't think you have to do it, but I do think that should still be training cardio, right? I'm just over the demonization of any type of movement. You're seeing it a lot right now with like strength work and Pilates work being pitted against each other. And the right answer is that we want a variety of different stimuli, movement patterns, intensities in our training. So if you can find a way in your, routine each week to get in like a little bit of everything, I'm not saying that you need to do like Pilates and then strength and then running and then this and that, but just like making sure that your training is well-rounded, that's going to be the key for longevity. So I'm going to say for this one, like meh, but fine.
Yes, queen, slay, slay, slay your enemies, raise up your army.
That's funny. Good job, Crunch Fitness. I mean, literally this. Lateral raises will humble you. Let's talk about why though. When you're doing a lateral raise, you're going to be primarily targeting the medial delt and it's a small muscle. So already smaller muscle means that it's going to move a smaller amount of weight. The other thing to consider is that when you're doing a lateral raise, you're bringing the weight or the resistance really far away from the midline. So it's a really long lever. So the further weight has to move away from your center of gravity, the harder it's going to be to control and stabilize. Now let's compare this to something like an overhead press, right? Because I guess you could argue that like the weight's still moving like far away from the midline. But two things here. Number one, well, an overhead press is going to work primarily your anterior delt, which is about the same size as your medial delt-ish, but you're also going to get in an overhead press the triceps involved, so you have another muscle working, and more of the upper chest fibers. The other thing to consider is that still, like, your center of gravity is here and you're pressing straight up. Everything is still stacked, so this is going to be a more stable position than this. So we are ranking this one truth bomb. I just thought it was funny.
Man, I'm so bored of lifting. I think I want to try yoga or bar class. You want to come with me?
Hell no. And if I did do it, I would do it on an active rest day and not replace my actual lifting.
Wait, so it would be an active rest day, not a workout?
Well, yeah, because there's no way to progressive overload. I mean, you're using 1, 2, 3 pound weight, maybe 4 pound weight in a pure bar here. And in yoga, you're just doing your body weight over and over and over again.
Okay, that may be true, but then why do all these people in these classes look so fit?
Well, it may attract genetically skinny people. Skinny fat.
I don't want to be skinny fat.
Then keep lifting weights and getting stronger. If you're struggling to lose the belly fat and get toned,
Looking for 5 women who want to lose 20 to 30 pounds in the next 90 days.
so if you're ready to invest and work hard,
Comment coaching to see if you qualify.
Something about the like,
I'm looking for 5 women to lose a certain amount of fat in a certain amount of days.
I don't know. I've never liked that type of marketing. But anyway, there are a few things that I want to touch on specifically that were mentioned in this video. So they make comments about Pilates and bar and yoga, those type of workouts, and they say that they're more active rest. And I do agree with this, but I don't really like to phrase it that way. I don't know. Something about phrasing it that way makes it feel like it's less than something like strength work. And I'm very over like pitting these things against each other. So I like to think of those type of workouts and those type of days is more like your fun stuff. It's like a fun movement day, a supplemental movement day. It feels like when we say like, oh, well, that's just an active rest day. Like it's like putting down these things like Pilates and yoga and bar, where I do think that they're great and have a time and place. And they're not like less than strength training. They're just different and have different benefits. Then we get into this talk about like these modalities are impossible to progress, or they specifically do say like progressively overload. But I think we have to think about the why here, right? Like not every single workout needs to be about progressive overload, which I also made a whole video about progressive overload. And it's not like, that's not just adding reps and weight consistently over time. Like there's a lot of ways to progressively overload something. And I would argue that like, if you have a solid Pilates instructor or yoga or bar or whatever, like if they're strategic with their programming, you can absolutely progress in these things. It might look different than a strength training progression, but like you can still have progress. Like you can still progress, whether it's flexibility, whether it's core control, mind muscle connection, coordination, whatever. Like those modalities have a lot of great benefits too. But I do agree they shouldn't replace them, which we've already kind of talked about at the beginning of the video. Oh, and then we get into this claim that people who do these modalities are like skinny fat. And can that term just die? Like, are we back in 2002? Should I go back on like my Facebook memories? I don't know. I just really hope that the year of 2025, it's not looking good. I just hope that we can stop pitting these modalities of movement against each other. And like, if someone is curious about a new type of movement, we shouldn't be telling them to not do it. We should be giving them advice on how to add it into the routine safely and effectively. So I'm going to say, I don't know, I guess meh, but fine.
Wonder if I changed my number. Would you wanna know?
So this text up here says day 2 of trying to get the Gracie Abrams abs so I can find my own Paul Mescal. If you don't know, Gracie Abrams, Gracie Abrams is a singer who is dating the new Gladiator man, Paul Mescal, which if you watched the last month's TikTok roundup, I did watch. I'd actually never seen the first Gladiator. So this week when I was off, Kevin and I watched the first Gladiator. Fantastic movie. Also, I've never seen Russell Crowe young, and I was like, Daddy. And then we watched the next one and it was so good. I really liked it. Honestly, the main point, there's, I guess, twofold here. Like the obvious, like, why are we trying to look like someone else? Like, it's boring. Like, just, I don't know, better yourself. Like, without comparing yourself to someone who is a Nepo baby, which is fine, but that just means that this woman comes from money. Her papa is J.J. Abrams. I don't know, I think he like created or directed Alias, which was like the best show ever that I watched growing up, as well as many other things. But With money comes a lot of financial freedom to invest in your health. You can have a trainer, you can have a chef, you can have a personal assistant. Like, so of course you're gonna, and then obviously like there's a genetic component, but like you just have an easier time getting Gracie Abrams abs, I guess. But the main point I want to say here is like, why can't you get your own Paul Mezcal, no matter what you look like? That man and men like that would be lucky to have someone like you. Why are we basing our worth solely on what we look like and our ability to attract a man? This is gross.
It's totally okay to take breaks. Just a reminder, each class is $42. That got you up. There you go.
I would never say this. So the implication is that if you take a break, you've wasted some of your money because you're not getting as much out of your workout. If I need a break, I need a break. Do not guilt me out of it, please. I'm fully aware that I paid $42 to be in this class. If I need a break, I will take a break. Personally, I just think I think the intention means well, but this is a lazy coaching cue. I personally am very much against negative motivation techniques, unless you're like a professional or you're an athlete or you're like a competitor. Like, this is a normal person in a bar class. Like, let them live. Let them take breaks. I just don't think it's inspiring. I even try my best to use like positive corrections with clients and in classes. So instead of saying like to a client, being like, hey, don't do this, I'll say instead like, hey, let me give an example. So let's say you're doing bicep curls and your elbows are swinging away from your body. Instead of saying like, hey, don't let your arms swing away from your body, I like to phrase it instead of, hey, let's squeeze the elbows into your body to keep more tension on the biceps. Little things like that, I just have found in group fitness settings and one-on-one settings, it keeps a more positive environment to give positive corrections rather than negative ones. And I'm not saying I never show like the wrong way to do something or I never use negative stuff, but I just try and make the ratio a little bit bigger. So I don't know. I wouldn't say this because then also like if you desperately do need a break, I would feel terrible because now the instructor is like, don't take a break because you spent $42 to get here. And then I take a break. I'd be like, well, all eyes are on me and I don't ever want to come back. So I'm going to say, because I know she means well, meh, but fine.
I just saw a TikTok the other day in which a lady was like, oh my God, every time I see women running on the treadmill, I'm like, I want to go up to them and be like, don't run, you'll get runner's face. Honestly, get the fuck offline. Go touch some grass. Like, we have a literal sedentary lifestyle epidemic in America, and you're trying to dictate how people find joy in movement. It's fucking wild. I hate the fitness community right now. I hate how some people are like, oh my God, don't do Pilates. Like, you won't gain the sufficient muscle mass. And then other people are like, oh my God, don't lift weights. You'll get too bulky. And then other people are like, don't fucking run. You'll get runner's face. Like, go outside. Touch grass, let people find joy in movement however they find it. However you want to exercise, do it. I swear to God. Like, people need to get a life.
I think that about sums up my thoughts on how we enter the new year. Also, what the fuck is runner's face? What is that? I don't even want to Google it. My phone listens to me. I'm going to get oh, damn it. My TikTok feed is fully destroyed now. This is a truth bomb, and I think we can end the video here because I've been sitting here in pajamas now for almost 2 hours filming this, and I would like to get up. Thank you all so, so much for watching this video. Let me know if you like this structure, if you like the old one, we're not bringing Kevin back. It's fine. But just let me know what you think. I would love to keep this series going because it seems to really resonate with you guys. And as always, if you see any content online that you think would be a great inclusion into the video, send it to me. The best way to do that is through Instagram DMs. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos, and I will see you in the next one.